again. Welcome to today's TCCOP session. We are actually so glad to have you all here for today's session, and I believe that we've all had a great day so far. So, thank you so much for being with us today. As we wait for others to join, I would like us to take a moment for you to let us know in the chat box where you are currently joining us from. So please drop in the chat box your location where you are currently joining us from for today. If you are already an old member of TCCOP sessions, please type also in the chat box team coach. And if you are a first timer or you just probably found your way to us here today, please type in the chat box first timer. I would like to say thank you so much for joining us for today's session if you're a first timer as well. Take this moment also to settle in, get comfortable, and be fully present also. This is actually your time to reflect, to learn, and connect with others who are just as passionate about coaching as you are. Today's topic speaks actually to the heart of effective team coaching. It's relevant whether you are coaching individuals, teams, or leading one yourself. So grab a notebook or probably open a blank Microsoft Word. You are going to want to capture some few gems, which actually are going to be very important for you as a coach. Let's make Let's go back to the topic. As I said, today we are going to tackle a very interesting topic, which is leading with heart, coaching emotional intelligence in teams. As emotional intelligence becomes more central to effective leadership and collaboration, coaching in this space invites deeply, communicate with empathy, and perform with purpose. To lead us through this important conversation, we are joined by someone with a very deep experience and passion for this work. Hermione Joshua is an applied neuroscience life and leadership coach and a mentor coach with International Coaching Federation with more than 20 years of experience in the field. She specializes in enhancing emotional intelligence and using brain based coach strategies to help leadership foster healthier team cultures and thriving organizations. Her work is focused on transformation, unlocking human potential, and empowering growth that lasts. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Hermione. Please, once again, drop in the emoji box a heart emoji just to say, Hermione, thank you so much for your time today. Also, feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box or the Q&A box. We'll get to them toward the end of the session. Just a quick reminder as well, this session is being recorded and the replay will be shared with you afterward. We'll also be running a quick feedback poll at the end. Your insights are incredibly valuable to us, so please do take a moment to fill that out. And with that, over to you, Hermione.
Thank you so much, Adam. That was a very heartfelt introduction. I appreciate that. And what I will do is that maybe I can just go ahead and share. So I'll um, share my screen from here. Yeah, so I think. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Thank you. Just put it on slideshow. All right. So the only not so good thing about sharing my screen is that I'm not able to then see the chat. So I would request Adam to just keep a glance on it so that we are in tune with what our participants
Okay,
are also
Hermione,
doing.
I'll do that for you. I'll do
Thank
that
you
for
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so as Adam beautifully put it, that we are talking about a very important topic today, which is I love the name when I was designing this, the leading with the heart, Of course, it's not originally something that I've coined, but I read it somewhere, and I found it so beautiful. So I thought, let us use it in, the session that we are going to do here, and also a couple of other sessions that I'm doing with some other companies. So before we go ahead, let's just understand that. What are we really going to do out here today? We have little time, less than an hour, but we can cover some ground if we are together and if we have the intent to do that. So one is we're going to very quickly go through what emotional intelligence is, which I do understand and believe that all of you do know what it's about. And we're going to really touch upon the impact that it has on team dynamics. So emotional intelligence is a huge subject, but we are going to specifically talk about teams and emotional intelligence today. And then in particular to that, we are going to we're going to deep dive into the coaching strategies or the coaching frameworks, if you like, for enhancing emotional intelligence when we talk about our teams, team members, team leaders. And we will equip ourselves with a practical map or a model which will help us to practice emotional intelligence with our team members and with ourselves, because everything that you apply with others, you can apply with yourself first. And some key coaching questions which will come along the way, so that you can integrate your emotional intelligence into your daily work life. It says leadership here, but I do really believe that leadership is nothing but work happening every day. Every moment of your time spent at work with your team members, with yourself, with your colleagues is being a leader, is demonstrating yourself and your ideas to others, which means that you are, showing, exhibiting leadership. So that's the broad objective. And let's very quickly go through what is emotional intelligence. And I'm sure, as I said, that all of you already know what emotional intelligence is. Been around here for some time now. Daniel Goleman, somewhere in the 1980s, made it very popular. And after that, we have loads of models which talk about emotional intelligence. For me, it's a very simple, the way I put it, it's very simple. It's a way of knowing yourself better and knowing others also better. And it includes naturally self-awareness, because everything starts from me. If I am not aware of who I am, what I'm feeling, the key word in emotional intelligence is emotions. And emotions, if you really look at a simple definition of it, is nothing but data, data that is coming to you, information that is coming to you from your senses to you. So it's a very interesting phenomena that's happening. Data comes to you, from you, to you. And in the process, it collects inputs from the environment also, and thereby gets a lot filtered and things like that. That's a separate discussion of psychology. We won't get into that. But the interesting part is that, a lot of times emotions are confused with either being too too much, too less, too bad, too low, or why emotions? Why can't we just be without emotions, and we could be probably feeling good about ourselves and feeling safe, because then we wouldn't be troubled. But the point is that if there were no emotions, then probably no work would be done also, because as human beings, we are primed to be working with our emotions and feelings. And emotions and feelings are separate things. We're not getting into that also right now. But just to get the perspective straight, feelings are what you feel with, like literally what you feel on your senses. Like if you're feeling cold, then there'll be these goosebumps. Or if you're feeling scared, there'll be these goosebumps. And the emotion would be probably fear, or it would be feeling that, oh my god, that terror or something like that. If you're, say, lost in a jungle and you're feeling cold, so the feeling is that I'm feeling cold, and I'm feeling a bit lost, and the emotion which comes with it would be probably fear or something associated with it. So that's the little difference between what we feel and what the broader, you can say that emotions are the broader umbrella under which we operate. So everything starts with self awareness. We move on to what we call as self regulation, which is an enhanced way of looking at self awareness. Once I'm aware of who I am, how do I emote to things, I can learn how to regulate myself, which really means what? That if I'm going out, somewhere, I know how to behave. Simply saying that I know how to behave myself when I'm with people. I know how to behave myself when I'm in office, and I know how to behave myself when I'm with anybody. So I know that my emotions are my responsibility, and I know how to regulate my behavior. Also, to understand it, it's not only just for the sake of saying that I'm behaving myself, but also to understand where my emotions are coming from, which is also regulation. And then the other part of emotional intelligence, as we said, is the awareness about others, about the people that you live with, the people that you work with, society in general, or anybody that you're associated. And that is called social awareness. That how well do I know the people who I'm working with? How well do I really know what drives them? How well do I get along with people? A lot of things are covered in this. And finally, it is all this combined makes your relationship management um, quadrant, which really means that, again, when I'm aware of people, how do I regulate my relationships? Like we were regulating ourselves, how do I manage my relationships? Obviously, it's not totally in my hands because there is another person involved. But what do I do with my share? How am I looking at my emotions, and how are my emotions guiding me towards this relationship, whether at work or whether at in the social sphere? Anything in the chat box that has come up, which is a question or an observation or something which is can be considered right now?
Yes, please. Abi said exactly. We need emotional intelligence in our daily life, not only at work nor at specific places. Emotional intelligence avoids chaos and brings just positive things. So that is a
Very well
comment.
put. Very, very well put. How do you pronounce that? As Abir? I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And if I'm not, I apologize. Uh, Thank you so much for your inputs. They are absolutely on point. Okay. So it is a huge subject, and it is absolutely essential in today's world where you have loads of people with such high IQ and so much of technical awareness, and the chat GBT and so much else happening. There is no dearth of information. So what is it that distinguishes a one person from the other? Finally, at the end of the day, I would say that it is the human to human when I'm leading with my heart, and which does not by any standards mean that I'm leading with softness. A lot of us confuse leading with heart or leading with emotions as being soft or being pushed or being mushy or being somebody who does not have control over, what is happening. On the contrary, a person who is leading by heart, who is well aware of his or her emotions, is very well attuned to other people's emotions, also can be a very capable leader because they are leading in real time. They are not leading by simply managing processes, but they're leading people, and people are always dynamic. People are always changing. So this was about a little bit about the introduction. And why isn't this moving ahead? Hello. As I said, technology can be a biggest enabler, but it can be your biggest uh, deterrent also. Okay. Now, why does EI matter in teams? I mean, we can talk about it till the dogs come home, but the point is that it is very important. I mean, it's important everywhere, but we are talking about teams today. In a particular session, I talked a lot about psychological safety, and I hope you guys remember that. In short, psychological safety is the feeling that people get when they're working with other people, that it's safe to be around them. Safety, not as in that somebody will come and hit them or they'll get spanked, or fear of some danger, but safety that your ideas will be not looked down upon. So it's not so much about appreciation, but it's about that if I say something, I will not be ridiculed. If I put down a thought process, I will not be looked up down upon for that, and neither for my race, ethnicity, and things like that. So that's the environment of psychological safety. And an emotionally intelligent leader or a person or a team member will very naturally gravitate towards an environment that builds psychological safety. Yeah. Because you will want your people to feel safe, because you yourself want an environment in which you thrive, and you know that people only thrive when they feel safe. And a feeling of danger, and remember where we come from our ancestors, and the only reason the brain has evolved in the way it has is that the brain constantly looks at protecting itself from danger. Although now there are no wild animals roaming around here and there, but still the primal part of the brain, which is right at the back, the pre the old brain, that still looks at everything with a slight let's say suspicion, and it looks at things, and then it needs to get safety as its first primal concern, and then they can go on to do anything. So if an environment is not safe, you are not managing to work well in it, and that ruins everything. That's why organizations like Google, you can read about it, the project Aristotle, it's called. They have done so much research on psychological safety and built very, very emotionally secure teams. Yeah. Then it enhances collaboration. Collaboration also happens when team dynamics are safe, when they are less, when they're less edgy. So I can collaborate with you for ideas, but I also need to collaborate with you by understanding that, hey, this guy is a nice person to work with. You need not be my best friend. That's not even necessary, but I need to feel that rapport with you to be able to work with you. And that's again when we talk about collaboration of ideas, teams of teams, and a lot of stuff happens. Of course, improves conflict resolution. If I'm looking at an environment wherein I have a leader who is emotionally aware and intelligent enough to sense conflict, he may like to, or she may like to de-escalate it and use strategies using emotional intelligence to be able to de-escalate the matter, or help you as a team member or a leader develop your own strategies to be able to de-escalate. And of course, it increases trust and motivation, because you are in operating in an environment which is giving you that security, that safety, that amiability, and less of conflict. You naturally have more trust and motivation. So that's why it does matter in teams, because without it, you would be looking at a place which has the opposite of all this. And if you look at the opposite of all this, it's a pretty sad place to be in, and a very unproductive one also. Okay. So we move on. Just keep losing that arrow every time, which is okay. All right. Now this is an activity I'd just like you to do. I do it in all my sessions for EI, and I thought, why not to do it here? Okay. And I just want to remind you this, that every time in a day, take a moment, just this one moment. It could be just a matter of 6 seconds. It doesn't take more than that, and I would like you to do it right now as I am speaking. Take this moment and try the body mind heart scan. Sorry. And what is the body heart mind heart scan? You're just asking yourself, how is my body doing right now? Any pains, aches, blah, blah, something else which is bothering me? How's my mind doing right now? By mind, we mean here the brain. And we're saying, how's my brain doing? It's too much information, too less information. Am I feeling swamped? What's happening? All good? Okay. And how's my heart doing right now? Feeling lonely, happy, sad, irritated, triggered? something. This is where your emotions come in. And this is called the BMH scan. Yeah, it's a very, very simple tool, but very effective, very, very effective with not only yourself, but you could do it with your team members. Having a team meeting in the middle of it, just say that, okay, guys, time for a BMH scan. As you practice, you will become more skilled. In the beginning, you might find it very odd that what are you really doing? You're asking your body, how are you feeling? How can the body reply? How can the mind reply? But it does reply. It does give you signals. Your senses talk to you a lot. You'll become very skilled at noticing feelings, even when they are small or subtle, and before they turn into something fierce and loud. So why are we doing this? Because sometimes it is these small signals that prevent full-blown emotional triggers or emotional meltdowns. So we are saying that there's nothing wrong with emotions. In fact, they're very good because they are data. The data is telling your body, it's telling your mind, it's telling your heart that this is what is happening. But if we don't catch that data, it may lead to something very big. It may lead to something what we call as emotional meltdowns or triggers, or places where you're unable to deal with your feelings, with your emotions, and then they become apparent to others. And others at times who we may not even want to show those emotions to. You want to show a more regulated state. Therefore, it's better that we have practices like BMH or other mindfulness practices, which we are not going to go in this session, but it's a good idea to learn some mindful practices so that you are able to be more in control of managing your emotions. We are not, sorry, control is not the right word. We are managing our emotions. We are not controlling them. So please don't ever think about your emotions as something negative, as I shared earlier. Emotions are just data, nothing good or bad about them. They're just telling you how your body, your mind, your heart is responding to something. What you choose to do about it then becomes your job by using emotional intelligence. Yeah.
Hello,
Now,
Hermione. Please,
yeah,
sorry, we have a question from Abi. He's asked. Sorry, I'm not sure if he said he or she, but my apologies if I didn't say it quite correctly. Please, the individual is asking, BMH is like self-reflection somehow, right? That
absolutely.
is the question
Absolutely.
there.
It is 110%. It is a self-reflection tool. And it is something that usually we do self-reflection with our thoughts. You know, what we're used to doing is that I sit down and I journal or I think about what am I feeling? What am I thinking right now? So this is a little advanced, or let's say, call it a little different way of doing it, that we invite our body to tell us that what's happening. Am I feeling tight somewhere? Are my muscles okay? Am I is everything good with my body? Is everything good with my mind and heart? And if it's not good, you bring it out, you label it. What is really happening, right? But it is self-reflection, absolutely. So it begins with the first quadrant, which is self-awareness. Thanks for that question. Okay, now before we get into the nitty-gritties of the coaching emotional intelligence, there's some very basic stuff that I wanted to just share right at the outset so that we make our base pretty clear. Because coaching emotional intelligence cannot be done in one session. Like, we can't learn about like saying that, okay, how do I become an emotional intelligence coach? But we can definitely become team members who can use coaching as a tool to be able to help others and yourself become more emotionally aware. Okay. And so what we are trying to do is, we are not becoming emotional intelligence coaches to start with. Of course, there's a whole course for that, and there is a team coaching course for that, which we run also. But what we are trying to do is, we are working at our own awareness, and we're working and trying to work with the people that we are working with also, to notice how they are, so that we become more attuned to people. This word attuned is a very healthy word to remember. Attunement, how I attune myself to myself and to other people. And what do we do for that? We observe our emotions without judgment. Now, this without word is so, so important, and judgment. If you are observing yourself and telling yourself that this is not right, I don't want to feel sad, the brain has this remarkable thing of making you feel more sad, even more sad. It's it's pretty, it's pretty awful and funny. Because if you tell yourself, I don't want you to try it, but if you tell yourself that I don't want to fall down these stairs when I'm walking down. Trust me, I've tried it and I've fallen down very badly. I will not. If you tell yourself that I will not fall down these stairs. Many times we tell ourselves, these affirmations. I will not go to sleep in class. I used to tell that a lot to myself in school. And pronto, I used to be asleep the next moment. So the brain does not understand no. Okay, this is something that I'm sharing with you. It's a nugget. The brain usually does not understand the word no. It has blocks of information. It understands tasks. Do this, do that. Usually doesn't understand don't do this. And remember, like children, the moment you tell a child, don't touch this wire, what do you find the person doing, the child doing? Going right ahead and touching that wire, because the brain has certain secretions which happen, which prompt you to do exactly the thing that you are being told not to do, because of heightened activation, and you want your reward and things like that. So that's another story. But at the same time, so instead of telling yourself that I will not fall down these stairs, you tell yourself that I will reach the bottom of the stairs safely. That's a command that works for you. So similarly, when we are coaching ourselves or others, if I tell myself that, Himani, don't cry, what I will find myself doing is crying even more. If you want to try it, you can try it on something small, and you will find yourself doing exactly that. So even with your team members, the same rule applies. If you tell people, don't do this, I don't like this in you, chances are less that they will, do less of that. What we then use is coaching tools. We sit down with them and we try and understand where they're coming from. And we ask them for suggestions as to what else they can think of, and thereby establish a place where we mutually agree on. I hope this is clear, because if we are not understanding this basic, then we will continue to work in our old ways of telling no to people, and continue to get the same results as leaders or as even team members. And sometimes we wonder, why don't people listen to me? Why is it that I keep sharing information? As a mother, trust me, this comes to me many times. This used to be, why doesn't my child listen to me? I mean, and then I recognize that my language is not brain friendly. To a teenage child, if I'm saying don't do this, his adrenal glands, his sense of reward is telling him that he wants to do exactly that. you know so yeah, that's quite true. And we yeah, always saying things in the positive side and not otherwise, sometimes hard to apply, but we should implement it. Yes, it's very clear. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's not so much about, I appreciate it's coming from positivity, yes, but it's more in the affirmative. So when I'm saying no, I can be very tough on myself, even with a positive or an affirmative way. I will complete my walk today. Or instead of saying that I don't want to miss out on my walk today, I don't want to miss out on my yoga today, I don't want to take another day off. So it's like, I need to be tough on myself. That's fine. But because the brain is so busy correct checking on me, that the moment I say that I don't want to miss, the brain catches on the word miss and says, okay, here is a quilt, here is a bed, and off you go to sleep, right? So that's why even in habit formation and all, we use a lot of positive affirmations. Yeah. So yeah. So, and then, so this was about observing without judgment. So when I said that, that meant, one, that you're not going to give yourself a no game. No, you're going to give yourself an affirmative game, and without judgment. So you're not saying that these emotions are bad. How can I even feel like this? Why am I such a crybaby? I mean, why do I even feel like crying? You feel like crying because the body and the mind and the heart is giving you signals. It's data. And that's why you feel like crying. You can investigate further, you can ask where is it coming from, and that's what's called labeling emotions. And you can go deeper. Maybe it's not crying because of something, it's crying because of something else, and you are able to find out more about yourselves. What a wonderful feeling. So why be bothered that, crying is just a feeling, it's a sensation, your senses telling you something, it's data, right? And then the other part of coaching is reflecting back. You must have, if you've been into a coaching session, you must have heard your coaches doing this very well to you. They reflect back your feelings to you and say, so I heard you saying that this, and how does that make you feel? Or I sense that this is making you feel, upset or whatever. So, and when you do that with a team member, you're actually acting like a mirror to them, and you're sitting there and you're listening very carefully and you're reflecting back. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to ask a question? You raised your
Yes,
hand.
please. Yes,
Sure.
please. I would like to ask a question concerning the emotion that is the crying part. I find myself sometimes crying in the sense that something will happen, and I know that on a usual case I find myself crying, but this time I tell myself I won't cry, but I don't know, out of the blue I just start crying. Sometimes it
Yeah.
may be an insult from my parents, and I've decided that I won't let their insults bother me again. But I don't know, especially when I'm maybe voicing it out to a sibling, or sometimes I'm just there, I won't cry, but as soon as it comes into mind, I don't know where the tears come from, but I just start crying. So in that case, I've been wondering to myself, how do I overcome myself so that I don't just allow that to make me cry, or anything to make me cry that easily, even though I've told myself I won't cry. So
Okay.
that's my
See,
question.
yeah. So firstly, there are many layers to your question, and thank you for so much for this beautiful question. The thing about crying is that crying itself is not bad at all, as I was just sharing it all. It may be true that sometimes when you're with other people, or like we talked about self-regulation, that you're not very comfortable with crying in front of them. That could be a possibility, you know. So we have to look at it in two parts. Is it the crying itself that is bothering you, or is it the fact that you're crying in front of others that is coming in your way?
It's the
So
crying that is bothering me. Sorry for interrupting. I just feel like maybe I
it's the
should be stronger than that. So that's where
So I would just gently tell you that crying itself is a very beautiful release of emotions. Hmm? It's your data. Emotions are data, as I just explained, and they are helping you understand yourself better. What you need to do at that time is that you need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself more questions. That what is this really telling me about myself? You need to journal. You need to ask yourself some questions. If you want, you can get in touch with me later, and I'll give you a little inventory of questions which you can ask yourself. It basically means that you need to be an investigator into your own emotions. Crying is just the output that you're getting because those emotions are getting pent up, and they are coming out like like a torrent. So that's why we do exercises like mindfulness or BMH or other things, so that we can manage ourselves better. And maybe at times when we don't want to have a meltdown or things like that, we don't want to do it at that time. But if you're on your own, if you're in your own room and you're in your own safe habitat, maybe even with some loved ones, it's perfectly all right to have a meltdown, to be able to take it all out, and to be able to really ask yourself some curious questions as to where is this really coming from. Because the crying itself is not the base issue. It is what you're holding in and holding out, and what those emotions really mean to you is the main thing. And unless we figure that out, we are really not solving our case. Yeah. So we need to take care of our emotions because they are always telling us something. Remember that, all of us. Emotions are always telling us something. So never let them go waste. Never let them, just don't treat them like, why do you keep troubling me? They are troubling you again and again because maybe we are not learning the lesson. Maybe we're not understanding that thing about ourselves. So that's why we come to the third one, which is ask. When we ask ourselves open, emotionally attuned questions, yeah, we ask ourselves that where is this emotion coming from inside me? What am I really feeling? And there is loads of tools available on the internet, one of them being the Pluchik wheel. It's called the Pluchik wheel. It's a very, very easy to use. You spell it as Plutchik, and it's a beautiful wheel, and it's got loads and loads of emotions and sub emotions and sub emotions. So you can actually peel them. That is it anger or is it hurt, or even if it's not hurt, it's guilt. No, it's not guilt, it's shame. It is a beautiful exercise once you start really doing it. But you should be careful. Sometimes it's better to do it with a professional, because when you do it all on your own, it may become very emotionally overcharged and you may not be able to handle that. So start slow, but definitely start labeling your emotions. Stop a moment in a day and say, okay, what am I really feeling right now? Because we go on a day in such a mad rush at times that we don't even allow ourselves to feel what we want to feel. I don't know how many of you relate to this, but uh, somehow in this world, that's become the truth of our lives. And then finally, in this model that we are talking about, this coaching model, we, as a leader or as a team member or as a colleague or as a friend, we model, what we'll do with our children also, what we do with younger people also, what we do with anybody who we want to teach something. We model vulnerability and empathy. What we want from somebody, we model that, because that's the best way to teach somebody. That's the best way to make anybody understand what is it that you want out of them, is to model that, anyway, practice what you preach. So these are just some, you could take a snapshot of it, and you could say anytime you want to like have a mini coaching session with somebody based on emotions, you could, or with yourself on emotions, you could just use these mini cues of observing, reflecting, asking, and modeling, or one of them. You needn't use all together, but you could see the situation and see, okay, what am I doing right now? Am I in tune with my emotion? No. Okay, let me ask, let me observe myself. What am I really feeling? And then reflect back the feelings to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling this, and ask yourself even more attuned questions, and then model that behavior for yourself or for the other person. Okay, we'll go a little further into this, and then you probably will understand a little better. Okay, and how we're going to do that is by looking at the opposite side of it, not really the opposite, but an extreme end of it, which is what we call triggers, where probably what you had shared right now, Adam, was that we crying is a form when you're triggered inside and it's coming out outside in the form of tears. Yeah, that is just data. So the tears itself is not the problem, but the trigger inside is could be an issue. So what we do here is, because of the time lack, we are not going to do the exercise. But what you could do later is write down one emotional trigger. I've written teams out here, but you could do this very well with yourself also. One is, what is your one emotional trigger that happens? Now, what is a trigger? Something that just upsets you, bothers you, comes out, and which is not in your toleration zone. It makes you feel, it just doesn't make you feel good. There could be a lot of emotions attached to it. But when you're working with somebody, there could be other triggers. When you're with yourself, there could be other triggers. When you're with family, there could be other triggers. And what is your typical response for that trigger? And some people, when they get hurt, they become very quiet, and they go to their own room, or they go to a corner, and they say that I don't want to talk to anybody. They don't even say that, but they just shut down. There are other people who will not shut down. They will make sure that everybody in the room knows that they are not feeling good and somebody made them feel bad. So everybody has different response to their own triggers, and you then need to think after that, that what could be a more emotionally intelligent response. Now, this activity you can only do when you have been playing with your emotions a little bit. And what do I mean by playing? That you've been practicing labeling like you do on a pickle jar, or a jar. What am I really feeling? If I don't know what I'm feeling, how I usually feel, I wouldn't know the difference between one state and another. I might just be a mess, or not really a mess, but just a cascade of emotions that's happening with me because I'm not checking on myself, which does not mean that I need to stop every half an hour or 10 minutes and ask myself, hey, how am I feeling? Hey, how am I feeling? You'll probably be looking pretty absurd. But do set out some time in the day. People do that in different ways. They do that in journaling, they talk to people, they talk to a coach, they record themselves, or even having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. If I'm like I'm having, like I sometimes just stop in midway and say, like, okay, what's the feeling out here? How's the energy out here? How's my body doing? How's my heart doing? And at times I find that there is a lot of dysregulation between my say my brain and my heart. My brain is doing fine, I'm taking a session, but my heart is not doing good. Something is hurting me inside. And then I have to investigate further and be able to find out. I may not have the time then. So I put it down, I put it away, and I say, okay, I will come back to this because it's important, right? So this is an exercise which we're not doing right now, but the next exercise will help us a little more in real time right now. Now, this is a lot of material that I've put together in one sheet, and you could probably just take a screenshot of it because that is the best way you can retain this, because otherwise it's too much information to kind of get into your system right now. What I'm trying to explain in this is that the trigger could be that, okay, I am a person who's being ignored in meetings. What is my emotional trigger response? I get frustrated and I withdraw. I say, my ego gets hurt and I say, I don't like this. And now, supposing there's an emotionally intelligent leader who's sitting there, what will that person do? He would invite my input. He would validate my contribution that, oh, that's a fine point you made. Something about this makes sense. And so a coaching question, if I am, a coaching question to this would be, what would help you feel more heard in our team? So I've given you two ways of looking at it. One, as a leader, how could you, do real-time things to be able to do emotionally intelligent stuff? And also, if you're having these mini coaching sessions with your team members or with your team buddies or with yourself, then these are the coaching questions. So please take a screenshot, because these are some very common things that I took out. Unclear expectations. There's so many times that in your team members don't know exactly what they are in for, and thereby there is confusion. So what do you feel as a trigger? You feel confused. You can even get anxious. Many people, on surface, they look confused, but under the surface, they are anxious. They get very scared. They have other issues that come. So what would be an intelligent response? It would be to clarify the roles and check your understanding that, look, let's sit down and let's have a talk about what the role is. And the coaching question would, Alexa, stop. So funny. What clarity do you need to move forward confidently? So it's a very clear-cut question, and it would help the person also be, more at ease with something that is coming up. Similarly, there could be public criticism, there could be perceived favoritism, there could be lack of recognition, change without input, micromanagement. overwork, unresolved conflict. So, as I said, this is a pretty handy kind of thing. You can take a screenshot and you can just kind of keep it with you whenever you need to have these mini coaching sessions, or you would need to respond, with emotional intelligence. Anything in this that is coming out to be unclear, or a question or something, I'm just taking a mini pause out here. Nothing yet. Whatever it is, it will come. They will come out. Okay. Thanks for saying that. That everything is clear. Great. Okay. Now we're going to come to one of my favorite coaching models, or the map, as we call it. It is the heart coaching map. Now, it's a very simple model, and because it's the heart, I'm sure you'll remember it also. That's how I remember it. It just says simply, H, what do you do with your ear? You hear the emotion. What are you feeling right now? It could be a self-coaching model, or it could be a coaching model for somebody else. Either way, it works. What am I feeling right now? I'm hearing the emotion. Then E, I'm exploring. I'm exploring the trigger. What happened just before you felt this way? Because then you're going deeper into what really happened. That's more of the story, that this happened, that somebody spoke to me like that, or something, something, something. All right. We explored the trigger. And then is the A, which is the real meat, which is acknowledging and normalizing. It's understandable to feel this way. So we are not judging. We are not traumatizing. We are not hitting out and saying, how can you feel this way? Have you ever heard yourself saying this? How can you feel this way? But why are you feeling this way? This is not okay. I mean, this is so normal, but don't feel like that. Or we tell people, we pat them on the shoulder and say, don't feel bad. That's okay. Don't feel bad. Cheer up. You mean well, but the point is that the person who's upset is upset. So unless you're validating their emotions, you're not helping them. So please remember this. So we say it's understandable you feel this way. What does it tell you? But the important thing is to go deeper and be that investigator. Yeah. And that's what will get you the meat. Because we don't want that again and again we have these triggers, and they cause us to be unproductive, and they cause us to be in unresourceful states. So we then reframe the response. What might be a wiser, more resourceful version of you do? Now, this is a brilliant coaching question. You're asking the person only that what might a wiser, more resourceful version of you do? You're not telling them the solution that, okay, hey, buddy, I think you should have done this. Or I think what you did was very silly. And what you should do next time is this. Okay. Well-meaning, all right, but we may not like to use this approach, because people don't learn if you're giving them solutions. You can catch fish for people, 100 days, but unless you teach a person how to catch fish, I mean, really, do fishing, you're not helping them. So we have to empower people, we have to empower ourselves. So when we reframe the response, that what would a wiser, more resourceful version of you do, we are empowering ourselves and others. And then the last part is take action. What's one emotionally intelligent action you could take? And that's your heart coaching model. And we will practice this with a little case study. You can just take a screenshot if you like and just see the words once again. It is hear the emotion, explore the trigger, acknowledge and normalize, and reframe the response, and then take action. We should need to go faster because I think we are okay. So this is a case study, and it's a pretty typical one. This company is a very fast growing tech company, is preparing for a major product launch. And there is this cross-functional team, which is led by this person called Maria. Now, what is happening, as usually happens, is that tensions came because there was a lot of pressure, and the conflict erupts between the engineering and the marketing department, and this is being led, this is a cross-functional team, and it's being led by Maria. So she's kind of, so what really happens, this is the case study. This is the basic, base. And what is the conflict? Sam, who's an engineer, he criticizes marketing materials as being very inaccurate, and he says that they're not okay. And the marketing person says, he retorts with frustration that really, I mean, that you're saying that. And the leader, she kind of says like time out, and I'm ending the meeting early. So what is the result? The collaboration halts, trust erodes, and the launch, obviously, which is the major thing that has to happen, is at risk, that whether it will happen on time or not. Now, what does Maria do? She's an intelligent, empathetic person and leader. She reflects. She immediately goes for coaching, and she reflects with the coach. She tells the coach about the emotional climate of the team. She talks about her own reactions and leadership, and then with the coach's suggestion, she plans on intervention using the heart model. Okay, so far so good. Now, Maria is using the heart approach. So, what does Maria do in this situation? In hearing the emotion, she says, how is everyone feeling about where we are at? So, obviously, she gets a lot of responses. She hears the triggers from the marketing and the engineering departments. And then we understand the trigger is to we hear the backstory, what led to the conflict, what really happened. And then the meat stage, acknowledge it's natural to feel stress. Most of the time, as team leaders, as people, we ourselves feel so much stress that we are not able to cushion the stress of other team members. And we also respond and react by saying that, yeah, it's very stressful. It's crazy out here. I don't know what to do. I mean, you're a bunch of jokers out here, and we really don't know what's happening out here, or something to their effect. Or we say that, I don't know, I give up, I don't know what to do. So she acknowledges it's natural to feel stress, and then reframes, how do we move from blame to problem solving? So these are just I've written down very micro, just the base steps of it. The conversations go deeper and deeper. And then taking the action is new communication norms and check-ins. It is the time to make maybe new how you're checking in with each other, maybe a new team charter, maybe a new way of communication, or whatever you're doing. But you're not getting into it head on by saying that, okay, guys, time out. We don't know how to talk with each other. So here is this new way that you want to talk to each other. No more talking and no more meetings. Just communicate to each other with email. You guys don't need to meet. Nothing. Just finish we just need to finish the project in time. It may or may not happen in time, but it will lead to a lot of heartburn and a lot of bad blood that will come in between the departments, and maybe the launch will also suffer. So using the heart model may give you a softer way into coming out of this situation. So this was just an example, a case study, as I said. What happens then? Very simple. We have improved collaboration and trust. We have on-time launch. And the key takeaway is that emotional intelligence as a leadership advantage. She takes coaching, she uses her emotional intelligence and uses that as a leadership advantage. And, what I can ask you to ask, if using a case study like this or something like that happens, and I'd like to ask you this here also, that what EI competencies were missing initially? What were people not really doing in the beginning? And what did Maria do well? And how can the heart model support your team, which is, of course, something that you will look at. So what competencies were missing initially? The the places where we of self-awareness, of knowing your own triggers was missing. firstly, and then knowing other people's triggers, that okay, if I'm getting triggered by so much work and so much pressure and whatever, then the other person may also be doing that. Maria went from that response using the heart model, and she used her position and as well as her skills to be able to put on and reframed that, okay, let's use this as a problem solving tool and look at what can emerge, right? So similarly, this can support your team as well, and that is why it was shared out here. uh, this is basically repeating the same thing, that you can use these EI models in your one-on-ones as your coaching. Remember the chart that I showed you in which all those things were there? You can use those coaching questions. You can use the heart map in maybe post-conflict conversations when something has happened and then you are talking to your team member or your buddy and you're asking them, okay, what really happened? What was the trigger? And so what is it that now you're understanding about it? How can we reframe it, and how can we now take action in a emotionally intelligent way? And very importantly, as we had said in the beginning also, that model the self-regulation and empathy yourself as a leader, as a team member, as a human being regularly. Because without that, uh, it's like if you're not practicing what you preach, then it's not really authentic. And yes, I think I am almost done. I would just like to ask you that what resonated the most out of this session? What would you like to try first? And one word to describe how you're feeling right now, or what your emotions are right now. That would be something that I would love to hear from each one of you. And thank you so much for your time. You've been a wonderfully aware audience, and that is a gift to any person who's taking a session. Thank you so much for that. So if, yes, I see a hand raised up. So please go ahead, please unmute and talk. Should I stop the share? Maybe we can just, oh,
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. It actually was helpful, and all the session was great. What resonated the most is the heart map. Of course, it would be useful to hear, then evaluate, right? Hear and ask, and so on. So I have the screenshot later on. So this is the best thing in this session. In this session.
thank you
As
so
for
much.
the other question, can I see the other question? The next.
Okay. The next one, what was it? I'll just, it was what resonated the most? What will you try first? And one word to
Okay.
describe how you're feeling right now.
Okay, so what I will try for definitely with the team, within the team, the heart map, try to see if it is really useful. And of course, emotional intelligence is important in order to know your team better and better and know how to react as a leader. So I've
Yes.
been trying my best to do psychological tests like the MBTI, and we have done this session today, where I
Yeah.
get to know more of how my team member personality in order to know what they are thinking and how they cooperate, how maybe they could feel, you know, if we have done something. One word to describe how you're feeling now is excited. Excited to try new things, teach, and be a better day after day. So thank you so much. That's all from
Wonderful.
me.
All the best to you in your journey. And I'm so glad this something's resonated with you and you're taking back something. Thank you so much, everyone. Adom, would you like to share something?
Yes, Amani. For me, what resonated was knowing your emotional trigger, because it's something that I know I have to work on. What triggers me for me to get so emotional about situations that shouldn't really trigger me, and to understand that my emotion doesn't really mean I'm weak, or it doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm about, but being able to know that I need to understand what is triggering this emotion in the first place. Yes, and for me, what I'm taking out of it is the heart part, because as a leader, being able to, especially as the example was when you have a timely project that needs to be done, and teams are button heads, being able to bring everyone together so that everything comes well and is on time, is something that I am taking away with me for this session.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Great, guys. Wonderful being with you. And let's connect again soon. And look forward to meeting you again with some new nuggets about teams and coaching and the brain. And look forward to that. So have a wonderful rest of the day. For me, it's 10 o'clock at night. It's 10:30, in fact, at night. So I will call it a day. And take care. Bye-bye.
Hello? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Hermione. That, in fact, I think everyone should give you more than just thumbs up. We should give you a heart mixed together with a thumbs up, mixed together with a clap, because as for me, I know I learned a lot today. So thank you so much for today. It's been a pleasure. And in fact, I wish we had a part two of this, because I need more of this. And I think Bilal and Abi and everyone else need more. You see, Abil even said, I also learned a lot. It was very informative and it's very true. So thank you so much for your time. It's honestly been a pleasure having you today for today's session. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. Okay. Thank you, everyone else, also for being present today. Bilal, thank you so much. Abir, thank you so much. And also, thank you, Hermione, once again. Thank you so much. And everyone else who was able to make it for today's session. It's been a pleasure having everyone here. So, as we begin to wrap up, here are a few quick updates for us to take along so that we know what is happening. So our next LCCOP session is on June 16th at 9 p.m. ES time zone. And the topic we will be exploring for that session is the art of listening, a leadership superpower. We'll explore how deep intentional listening can transform leadership and team culture. And our next TCCOP session also will be on June 25th at 12 p.m. EST time zone. And the topic that we'll be taking on that one is navigating team conflicts, coaching through tension. This session will dive into coach teams through conversation and moments of conflict with empathy, clarity, and confidence. And also to our LATAM community, you will be having your People's Up Weekly Coffee. Our Latam community is hosting a special session on Thursday, May 29th at 4 p.m. Argentina time. It's going to be epic for everyone who will join from the Latam community. And finally, also continue to be part of our LinkedIn community to be able to be in the loop of everything that is happening. Finally, all registration links are available in the chat box. Please feel free to click in the chat box and save your spot. And as always, we invite you to stay with us on LinkedIn, as I said before, because it's a great place to continue the conversation and grow together as a coaching community. Once again, thank you to everyone who made it to this session. It's been a pleasure having you around, and it's been a pleasure hearing your contribution and your word of advice. Thank you so much once again. Would love to take you for a complete moment. And also, please look in our chat box to everyone who is currently online to answer our feedback poll. We'd love to hear your thoughts as we grow and shape our coaching sessions to better serve you. It's been a pleasure hosting you today. I'm your host, Adom, and as I sign off, as I will always say, stay curious, lead with heart, and keep coaching forward. Thank you to everyone for having us on this session.